Soup cans. 6 of them, ideally all identical. Now we want to attach 2 of them together, but we can't just go and use a ring of hot glue. Metal is a very good conductor of heat, so the glue will cool almost instantly, and by the time we get around the perimeter of the can, it won't be effective. So, chop up some bits of foam board, hot glue those to the inside of the top can just at the lip, and then put a blob of hot glue on the foam pieces and connect the cans that way. Foam is an insulator, a very poor conductor of heat, so these offsets allow us to get a nice strong connection very quickly. These are enormous, way too big, so stick with them if you want to, but I'm pulling them back apart. 1 can per tower, so I only need 3. This is some thin 60-pound cardstock, which is usually what I use for corrugation cladding. Gonna measure the height of the can and cut a piece to that width. And then measure out and draw 2 lines such that you divide the strip into thirds. And wrap it around the can, attaching it with a glue stick. Despite what you see me doing here, do apply glue stick to the entire strip, not just the beginning and end of it. Now draw some offset vertical lines. And cover all those lines with a thin bead of hot glue. This simulates welds. Measure the size of the tops, and with a compass, draw and then cut out circles from cardstock like cereal box, and hot glue them to the top of the can. Now we're going to paint rust onto the top and all of the weld lines. Refer to episode 57 for a detailed discussion of how to paint this rust, but a quick summary: solid burnt umber, heavy sponge with plain brown, partial sponge with terracotta, and partial sponge with honey brown. Choose the main color for your tower. I'm using Americana Slate Gray, which is a lighter gray that has a very slight blue tint to it. Paint it solidly in between all the weld lines, and then with fine control of the brush, feather it up against the weld lines, leaving a couple millimeters uncovered on each side of the weld. You might need 2 coats depending on the quality of your craft paint. I did. The idea here is to have a rough, feathered edge where the rust changes over to the gray. Okay, looking alright, but a little too perfect. 2 things. First, take your color and fully cover up the weld lines in a few random spots around the can. Not all the welds should be uniformly rusting, right? And second, a black wash over the entire piece. Splotchy is okay. Accumulation is okay. You want that. And I put it in front of a fan to speed the drying time. There we go, much better, more natural looking. I'm going to mount these on a long base. I'm making the base exactly as described in episode 57, so I won't go into excruciating detail here again. To quickly recap, trace the desired shape onto dollar store foam board, peel the paper from both sides, attach it to the chipboard using glue stick, chop off the excess chipboard with scissors so that it's a flush edge, taper the foam with your crafting knife, fresh and fully extended, and then lightly sand the tapered foam edges to get the result that you see here. The entire process takes 5 to 10 minutes. Again, review episode 57 for detailed discussion on this method for making bases and why I do it this way. Hot glue the towers to the base using the trick described at the beginning of the episode. Then make 2 catwalks to connect the towers together at the top. I simply use some cross-stitch mesh or granny grating, which is available at any craft store, and then glued a cardstock frame to it. paint it up with rust or however you like, and hot glue them in place. If your base is warped at all, hold it flat as you attach these because they will stabilize the piece by providing a second axis of control. Finish the base, again as in episode 57, to quickly recap: solid white PVA glue, flock with pebbles and sand, allow it to dry completely, and base with milk chocolate, then wet blend some burnt umber. Let that dry completely. Strong dry brush with a lightened mix of milk chocolate, and light sporadic dry brush with tan. Lastly, we'll make a ladder. 2 strips of chipboard, and chop a kebab skewer into a bunch of 1-inch segments. Hot glue them to one strip individually, and then apply a line of hot glue on the other strip, and attach it. You should have enough time to adjust each individual rung if it's not right before the glue cools. Attach 2 little rectangle pieces at the top here, and then paint it up however you like. I recommend more of the rust kit, and then I sponged on some metallic. But attach it wherever you like. I used a tiny bit of Loctite Gel Control Superglue at 4 points to attach it to the tower because hot glue would have left a blob and would have looked bad. So what we have here looks like a Necron Destroyer Lord and group of warriors attacking, but a troop of Ultramarines has taken the high ground, and that's why I built this piece. Blocking terrain in wargames doesn't do very much, but this one can be interactive and serve a tactical advantage. So I'm very happy with this build. I'm glad I didn't do the double-decker towers. One is enough. I am Wylock, thank you for joining me, and I'll see you next time.